Hello and welcome to an exclusive hour-long programme with me, Alex Belfield, talking to one of the most delicious, talented, beautiful, entertaining, need I carry on?
Goodness me. Thank you, Alex.
Hayley Westenra, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I've looked forward to this moment for a long time because I've seen you so many times with different acts that I go and see, whether it be Il Divo, and you're always somewhere doing something. And there's something incredibly angelic about your performance. Give me some dirt so that this angelic image isn't the only thing.
In the past week, I've drunken far too much champagne. It just keeps getting handed to me at these events, and I'm like, I don't even like champagne. I've just discovered coffee as well. Yeah. And tea. I discovered them both at once.
How showbiz. Enough on the negative.
Whisper chocolate bars, coffee, tea, they're my vices.
You see, I'm amazed you even say that you can touch chocolate because you're so thin and gorgeous.
I walk everywhere. I eat pretty healthily, but obviously occasionally you have to include a bit of chocolate in the diet just to kind of remain sane.
Now then, you've got this new album out and everybody loves to see you. How fun is it being you? Because you get to tour the country and get to perform at such wonderful events, and there you are, and you make it look so easy. Is it still fun for you doing it now? Because you've been at it years, haven't you?
Yeah, it is still a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this tour, and I think it's so important. What I've realised, it's just really important to have a great group of people around you, a great band, great management team, just great people, great tour manager, and that's what I realised just it makes a huge difference, so that, that allows you to have fun on the road while you're working.
I know they say Charlotte Church was the voice of an angel. I disagree, having heard your albums and seen you live. You really do have that voice that can't be trained. I don't believe you can be trained how to have that natural flair within your voice, and it's so silky smooth. Has that taken years to develop, or were you always able to sing, really?
I have always been able to sing. Ever since I was, goodness me, ever since I could talk, I've been singing, and apparently I sang nursery rhymes all throughout my auntie's wedding when I was 3 years old. And it just feels very natural, and to be singing, and I always just kind of knew that it would be my career. From as young, and from about the age of 8, I was pretty sure I'd be a singer.
And as for your genre of music, did you ever consider doing pop or something other than classical?
I tried. I used to sing along to my CDs in my room, and I'd sing along to the Spice Girls, and then I'd sing along to Andrea Bocelli, and I was a lot more comfortable and excited by Andrea Bocelli's music, and Kathleen Battle as well. I found her very inspiring. Maria Callas. I don't necessarily want to be pursuing opera, but I look up to those to opera singers and to classical singers.
I can't stand that Andrea Bocelli. I'll tell you why. He makes me cry like a baby. I don't know what he does in his music, and you have that as well, where there's such emotion. Does that just come naturally? Is that in knowing the meaning of the words and researching the song, or is that just within you?
It's hard to know. I mean, when I was younger, I just sang songs, and I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm able to delve more deeply into songs and put more emotion into them, and just but I've even when I was young, I was still making people cry. So I don't know if it's made a difference, sort of being able to interpret songs more deeply. I think it's just I've just been lucky enough to have been born with a voice that can do that to people. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. A good cry does you the world of good, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
We're here today with Hayley Westenra, one of my favourite people. This new album's called River of Dreams, and it basically highlights the songs that you sing beautifully and your most popular songs. And what an album it is, especially in the car. I was in such a horrible mood the other week driving to do a gig somewhere. It was late at night, it was pouring with rain, I'd got to stay in a horrible B&B and then do a show the next day. And you really cheered me up because there's just something inspiring about the type of songs you sing. Are you responsible for the songs that are on your albums? Do you have a big part in that?
Oh, yeah. I choose all the songs that I record, and as I've got older, I've also been doing some writing. One of the songs I wrote, Summer Rain, is on that album, on this album. And but I think it's really important to be choosing your own repertoire. You can't have repertoire forced on you, otherwise it's just, you can't sell it, you can't. You really need to believe in the lyrics and the music that you're singing.
And let's talk about you now and your beginnings. I'm trying to work it out. Is it Birmingham or the Northeast?
I'm going to say a little further east.
Keep going east?
Keep going east, keep going east. Yeah, maybe, you know, across a few continents all the way to New Zealand.
Does that help, do you think, with your accent? Because you've got a beautiful speaking voice as well. It does seem to me people who sing very well normally talk very well, if you know what I mean.
I think singing's helped me pick up, you know, when I travel, when I visit different countries, I always try and pick up a few lines of the local language there, and I think singing helps with that, you know, because you have a sort of you tend to have finely sort of tuned hearing as a singer. But I don't know whether I'm a great talker. I mumble a lot. I've had to learn not to mumble quite so much. I think it's a Kiwi thing as well. We tend to clip our words, and we're not great speakers, New Zealanders.
Oh, come on, don't put yourself up. And as for you as a child, what was your upbringing like? Were you in a musical household?
Yeah, I was. My grandparents were very musical. My granddad, he could almost play any instrument by ear. He played the piano, accordion, the piano, a bit of the violin, the harmonicas. And my nana, she used to sing. And they'd go around and entertain at various places, hotels and pubs along the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. I'm the oldest in my family, and I guess I started the ball rolling in terms of music and my close family. You know, my younger brother and sister, they kind of followed in my footsteps a bit. But my parents, for some reason, they didn't expect me to be musical. It kind of came as a surprise to them that I could sing and that I, you know, had a talent in that area. So they weren't really very musical themselves.
Tell me then, was there one moment where somebody heard you do something and then you realised you might have a career in this?
Well, when I was 6 years old, my school teacher picked me out to sing a solo in my Christmas school play. So that's when my vocal talents sort of came to the attention of my parents and to myself. Really, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I could, you know, I'm okay at this, and it gave me a little boost and a bit of encouragement. But then my big break came when I was 12, and I'd made this demo CD and I was selling it on the streets when I was busking, and a journalist invited me to perform on her TV show, and then the right person was watching, and soon my album was in the hands of Universal Music New Zealand.
And then you come over here. Why didn't you stay there? Is there more demand for what you do? Why didn't you stay where you were?
Well, you know, I'd released my first, I released 2 albums in New Zealand. I aged 14, and they'd both done very well, and I'd done a lot of performances around New Zealand, and then I'd done a tour as well, and suddenly you kind of get this, I don't know, I'm not sure. I mean, there are people who manage to have careers just in New Zealand, and they can survive on that career alone. And I don't know, I guess I'm being young, I just wanted to kind of explore the world, and it just made sense to me to kind of take things that next step further. Well, Decca Music, based in London, they had invited me across to make an album. They're London based, so it made sense to come to London rather as opposed to anywhere else in the world. But the reason why I made London my base now is just that most of my work is here in the UK, and I just love the city, and it's very multicultural. England's quite, or Britain, it's just very similar to New Zealand. The people here are quite similar to Kiwis, and the landscape's quite similar. So I feel very at home here.
And then we look at what you do. It's such a smart talent to have, because you can go in any city in any world, and providing you've got a microphone that works and an audience that want to see you, you can just do it. You don't have to take a piano with you. You don't have to take 16 dancers with you. What a thrill that is.
It's great. Yeah, I love the fact that I can sort of set up shop wherever I go, and it's just people really appreciate it. You know, I can be at a party somewhere, and someone asks me to sing, and I do, and then everyone gets such a thrill out of it, and so it's really nice to be able to have that skill and to be able to sort of give pleasure to people.
Going through school, did you find that people were always impressed when you sung more so than everybody else? Because that makes you stick out in good ways and bad ways. How were you accepted?
Yes, it does. In choir, yeah, I definitely, my voice stood out from the rest, and I got told to sing more quietly than on a number of occasions, and but yeah, it's a funny thing, because you'd kind of expect to be supported the whole way, and at times at school I wasn't always supported, and there's this tall poppy syndrome in New Zealand, and also probably here as well, and it's where you get cut down, if you sort of, I don't know, if you sort of, you're standing out from the rest. And sporting's different. Like it's like if you're good at sport, it's you're kind of applauded, but music it's a different story. So it was kind of an up and down battle, I guess, when it came to my singing at school. It
is a unique business, show business, in a way, isn't it? Because you either have those around you who are going to make you amazing, or those around you who want to stop you being anything but amazing. And you just need to find one person, don't you, who believes in you, who can see the value of what you do. Did you have one person like that? Was there somebody instrumental in making you the person you are today?
My mum believed in me, and so my dad and my nana, my relatives. I had a lot. And my friends. I had some close friends as well, who were, who were big supporters and still are big supporters of what I do. I think that was really important. There were a couple of family friends, and one of our family friends, he funded the production of my first my demo CD. So that we could produce it, get it done professionally, and we get 1,000 copies done, as opposed to going back and forth to the recording studio getting copies burnt down individually. And so I'm very grateful to him for believing in me. And I wouldn't have. I've been very lucky along the way. There've been a number of people who have believed in me and just taken me to the next step. I do recall people on the way just kind of getting a shock when I came that when I started singing, when I'd start singing, and out would come this like a classical voice, and this voice that seemed a bit too big for my frame, and I was like, but I guess that's I did enjoy that. I loved when I was busking on the streets. I loved stopping people in their tracks, and it's kind of. I guess I was a bit of a show-off, really.
Well, why shouldn't you? If you got it, flaunt it. And when you did those busking sessions, how old were you when you started that?
I was 11, and initially I was involved in this choir, and we were performing as part of this festival in the city, and we had a lunch break, and some of us didn't have any lunch money, so we decided, kind of as a joke, but we did actually need some money to buy lunch, that we go out busking, and we started doing really well, and then so after our performance as part of this festival, we 3 of us went back to the busking, and then I decided that it would make far more sense to go out on my own, far more sense financially as well. No, it was something that it was just a great opportunity to perform, and I really developed a lot, over my busking days.
And this might sound odd, but stood there in front of the general public, just walking past, has that helped with your performance today? Because I think that takes incredible bravery. I think that's far more brave to stand in front of the public who aren't paying, because the ones who are paying know what they're going to get, don't they?
Even though the thought of busking terrifies me now, I kind of... Yeah, I quite like the challenge, really. And it's kind of a low pressure situation, because you don't have anything to prove, really. You just... when you're out busking and when you're an unknown, whereas now people come along to my shows and they're paying money and they're expecting something, and I'm not always sure what, and so sometimes it can actually be hard, although I'm very lucky to be where I'm at now, and I much prefer being in this position rather than the position I was in when I was busking, because it's nice to have like a solid career.
Is there any way of explaining that feeling when there's 50 guys stood behind you playing beautifully for you?
I don't really see it as them playing for me. It just feels like one big team effort. And when I'm performing with an orchestra, it's just wonderful to have that kind of cushion of sound behind you. And I really love it. I mean, at the same time, I do enjoy performing with just a piano and a violin or a quartet, and or still a cappella. A cappella's a fun way to sing as well, because you don't have to worry about anyone else. You can sing in your own time, but an orchestra it's very exciting performing with an orchestra.
And how precious are you about your voice? I was talking to a West End star the other day. She said she warms up by having a packet of Benson and Hedges and shouting and screaming. That's not for everybody. How seriously do you take it? Because I know there's some performers that won't talk for 3 days before a performance, and that all seems a bit mad to me, because if it's affecting your life negatively, that's not what it should be doing, is it?
A couple of years ago, I was a lot more disciplined. I would stress out a lot more about, being in good sort of vocal shape, and I'd hear these stories of people not talking for like a whole day before a performance. I'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be talking. and then you get frustrated because you can't talk, and it's actually becomes a negative thing, really. It works against you. So I've learned to, obviously, I'm still, on a day of a performance, I'm making sure I don't talk too much. I'm not shouting. I'm avoiding not having too much dairy products, like I avoid milk and things like that, and I'm drinking lots of water, and I'll just take good care of my voice and pace myself throughout the day. But I think it's important just to be in a good frame of mind when you go to perform, and so you shouldn't be too hard on yourself.
It is never glamorous. I've never been in a dressing room yet that I would want to live in myself. How do you cope with that? Because it looks so glamorous from the audience's perspective, but backstage it really is a dump.
Once again, having great musicians to work with is important, so you have a good atmosphere backstage. Before I go out on stage, I do like to be at the venue 2 or 3 hours before I go to perform. I'm not sort of one of these artists that just loves to kind of zip in and zip out again. I like to kind of settle, and I sort of make myself a little home in my dressing room, and I do enjoy a bit of quiet time just before I go on stage, just alone time, and I kind of like just doing my own hair and makeup and just focus. That helps me to focus. It's good having a little routine. Yeah, I am pretty focused before I go on to perform, and I think it works for me. I mean, there's some people out there and they have completely different routines, and they're eating chocolate bars before they go on because they need the energy, and I just don't get that at all. Chocolate doesn't work for me before I sing, but yeah, just I found my own little routine, and it's good to have that.
And what are your biggest fears before you go out? Forgetting the words, forgetting the tune, or the reaction from the audience? Yeah,
biggest concern is kind of developing that rapport with your audience, and it's always it's a new crowd every night, and so it's scary. You're kind of hoping that they'll like you, and and you'll get along, and yeah, being in good voice as well is always on my mind. And even if you've been warming up all day and singing all day, you still worry that something might go wrong. Yeah, forgetting words, it has happened. So there are a lot of things to be worrying about.
How do you know that what you write is good and that it's not just rubbish and people are going to laugh at you? Do you have to ask a lot of people, or is it just instinct?
When I first kind of decided that I was ready to kind of showcase my music that I composed, it was very nerve-wracking, and I really trust the opinion of my management. So first I played my music to them, and then they decided it was good enough, so I went on to record company, I guess, or maybe just went straight to producer. I think we might have just recorded it, and then no, there's hope for the best. I got a lot of positive feedback from my fans on my last album, where I'd written a number of songs for it. So that's kind of encouraged me, and I don't want to be I don't ever want to be sort of putting songs on my album that I've written just because I've written them, and I always want them to stack up to the rest. So yeah, I get a lot of opinions first.
And how does it work with your fans? They're excited to hear something that's been created by you, or they'd rather hear a tune that they already know by somebody else?
I think it's good to have a mixture of the two. My fans were very excited by the fact that I was writing, and because when you're writing music, I mean, you're really opening yourself up, and you're really kind of showcasing your feelings, and your music is even more representative of who you are, and that's what excites me, and that's what the fans really appreciate too. So but at the same time, there's some great tunes out there that need to kind of being heard, and so I doing a combination of the two.
You mentioned your fans earlier. How old are you now?
21.
21 years old. It's fascinating, having seen your shows, that there's 82-year-olds, 52-year-olds, 42-year-olds and 18-year-olds. It is across the board, isn't it, your music?
Yeah.
And that's so rare in this business, because record companies particularly love to say, right, you're aimed at 18-year-old guys, right, you're aimed at 25-year-old women. You kind of dispel that myth that you can actually please all the people all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing for my record company and the record companies around the world, they kind of like, well, she is appealing to the young people, so maybe we should push her more in the pop direction. You just have to make sure you hold on to what you believe in, and just stay true to yourself, really, and then just hope that that people want to listen to whatever you're doing. So you can't be trying to sort of keep people happy. And obviously I do listen to what my fans have to say, and if they have songs that they want me to sing, I'll listen to their suggestions and take them on board. And I try not to get pushed around too much by other people's opinions.
Which is great. I mean, for a 21-year-old to have a say in that is so rare in the business as well. And it only seems to be with classical people that you have that right. Pop people really don't have an opinion at all, do they?
The pop world, they are pushed around a lot more than artists working in my world. And so, yeah, I'm very happy to be where I'm at. I don't think I'd be very happy in the pop world. I'd be great if, I could sort of branch over to pop music and avoid that whole scene, really. I guess it's got that. I mean, in the pop world, if you release a few singles and if they don't do well, then that's your career over, and it's and it's all very image driven. Whereas with my music, I mean, as long as I'm still in good voice, and I'm very happy where I'm at.
It's a funny old game because pop music means popular, so you have to fight to be popular. You're not fighting to be popular, you're there because you're talented, and that's the difference, isn't it? You're not fighting to be number one. That may happen and has happened and does happen, but that isn't the reason you're doing it.
Yeah, my popularity may fluctuate, but I know that, I'm not too concerned about selling loads of albums. I know that if I'm in good voice, I can still put on good shows, and I can still attract people. So, and my record company, they're very keen for me to have a long career as well.
All right. In our remaining moments, I want to talk about you. What do you enjoy the most? What's the most fun thing for Hayley to do?
I love jamming with other musicians and being silly. And I had a rehearsal the other day with my band, and the rehearsal finished, and then we sort of kept on playing, and that was a lot of fun. Outside of the music world, which is pretty much my life, but I enjoy going out and dancing, and I enjoy meeting up with friends for coffee and reading, walking. I love doing my washing.
You love doing your washing?
I love doing my washing.
So what's so fascinating about your small zone?
It gives me a real sense of achievement. Seeing my washing hanging up in my bathroom. I don't get it either.
Well, it's horses for courses. And of course, you're only 21. You're still young and vibrant and fun, and you do all those things, but we don't see you in these cheap magazines flaunting yourself around, which would be so easy to do, and I'm sure you could earn a lot of money doing it because you are gorgeous. Why did you take the decision, I'm not going to get involved in all that, leave that to others?
It's not really. I think it would detract from what I'm doing. It would get in the way of what I'm doing as well. So it's just not me either. So I wouldn't be being myself if I was kind of playing up to the paparazzi.
And do you agree with me that if you want to avoid the paparazzi, you can? Exactly.
I guess it's who you're hanging out with, and where you're going, and how you're behaving. So it can be avoided. I mean, there may be a few people who kind of got. I guess there will be a few people who are getting unwanted sort of media attention, I should say. But there are a lot of people who do go and hunt it down. So, and that's just not me. It would just get in the way of what I'm doing.
I think the last time I saw you was with Il Divo opening for them.
Uh-huh.
Is that fun going on the road with somebody else? So then it's even more of a team?
It is actually, yeah. It was a huge tour, the Il Divo tour that I was, where I was supporting them on and big group of people. I had a lot of fun just, hanging out with the Il Divo guys, as well as just the crew, the band members. Yeah, it was an exciting time, and we're doing a lot of traveling all around the world, so I got to see a lot of Europe. I prefer doing my own shows where I, as opposed to just doing a half-hour set. But it's nice. I love the variety in my life. I love the fact that I've had the opportunity to do these big stadium tours, and at the same time I've performed in cathedrals and abbeys and had a great time too. So yeah, it's a good life.
Is it tough opening for someone because they're not there to see you? We know that in reality, yet you're the person that has to make them comfortable and relax into their seats and get them ready for the big act. Is that harder work than actually having the Hayley Westenra show?
It can be, yeah. It's in some ways it's less pressure, but at the same time you're aware that there'll be a lot of people out there who are just sort of counting down for the main act to come on. And doing the El Divo tour, there are a lot of, you know, females in the audience. They just wanted to see the El Divo guys, and fair enough. And so I was kind of going, okay, this is going to be fun trying to get their attention. But it was, I still really enjoyed it, and I still sort of won a lot of fans on that tour, and I have a lot of supporters who kind of first heard of me on that tour, so it's great to be involved.
Hayley, thank you for talking to me today. It's been a real thrill. You're one of my favourite people. I just think you are unbelievable. Your voice is so unique and gorgeous, and anybody who's heard you live will know what I mean. Anybody can do it on a CD. We can all change things, but live, you do the business. Congratulations on this new album. It's called River of Dreams, the very best of Hayley Westenra, and thank you for coming on the programme.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you.